Hey guys, Bowie here, and today we are back with a 727 video. As you all know, the zoo got nerfed quite a bit, actually, but a new cancer is upon us, and I'm here to tell you exactly what to do if you want to gain that fresh 727 MMR. In this game, we have an 8k MMR Medusa that not only gets killed twice in lane, has to abandon the tier 1 tower, but overall deals almost a 20k gold lead for Radiant that gets turned around mainly because of the farming patterns and item decisions. MKB right now is one of the best items for Medusa and some other heroes because of the new build-up and because the power spike of Knuckles is crazy broken. But before we get there, let's watch what he does to, buy the items. He wards the area he wants to farm, which protects against rotations and also gives insight about the wards Radiant will probably start deploying in the area once they realize Medusa is jungling. He also gets a Quelling Blade. With the new patch, not only the item is cheaper, but it gives ranged heroes more damage, and Medusa is clearly one of the best users of it since she attacks multiple units at the same time, and he's also against Nature's Prophet, so it's always going to be useful. In fact, he keeps that Quelling Blade for a long time during this game. That ward also gives him a bit of vision of the large camp, which allows for the easy stack he gets even though he was busy dealing with these mud golems that he kills really slowly. At this stage, Medusa doesn't farm camps really fast as you just saw, and because of that, boots isn't what's holding her farming speed back, but clearing the camps in the first place is. This is not anything new for this patch, but because you're allowed to jungle now in case your lane is awful and you get less hurt by it, mostly because you cannot lose your outpost until a tier 2 falls, makes it okay for heroes that have farming capabilities to jungle early instead of spending tons of regen in the lane whilst still risking dying multiple times. Remember, kills give a ton of experience now. Eventually the Nyx shows up, which is natural. He clicks on him to try and figure out where the wards are being placed, and he just keeps doing his thing. Timbersaw ends up TPing bot at some point, and that's when Medusa goes back to the lane, and this is a really important part about being able to get away with farming as much as the Medusa does in this game. Since you can only lose an outpost after a tier 2 falls, defending them is crucial. He obviously gets more farm in the lane than jungling right now, but remember that the integrity of your tier 2 towers will be directly proportional to the space and time you will have to farm. He ends up being jumped, but thanks to the Quelling Blade, he is able to deal with NP, gets a kill, but notice this is a 6k gold lead in 8 minutes and it only gets worse. The Medusa keeps pushing top, but eventually a fight starts in the tier 2 bottom, and this is a great example of Medusa's strength paired with what the patch demands from teams that are losing the early game. Medusa is great at TPing into a tower that is being dove and doing a lot, even if she's not really that farmed. And in 727, a team that is snowballing has great interest in acquiring an early tier 2 tower because that gives them a way to finally control the whole map. And so even though Medusa finally caught a break from all of the pressure top, she TPs bottom to make sure that the tower takes as little damage as possible. This might look small to you since he barely dealt much damage and didn't get the kill on Undying, but these types of moves buy much more time than 1 or 2 creep waves he would farm top, especially because the tier 2 bottom and the tier 1 mid is what protects the ancient camp that, as a Medusa, he really wants to control and farm every minute. Notice that even after killing the ancients and spawning a new one, he runs bottom to defend against the Timbersaw. And after that, he gets killed in his triangle as Radiant plays super aggressively. He defends mid as he respawns, but a 10k gold lead piles up. The Medusa makes a small mistake here that I want to address. Usually, what you want to do when farming ancients when you're not strong enough to take them quickly is to turn your shield, lose some mana, to later Mystic Snake. He wanted to deal extra damage by drawing aggro here, but you can do the same thing and be efficient with your mana by breaking trees and drawing aggro a little bit after taking damage. But, just a quick side note. Because the outpost doesn't fall, even when the laning stage is rough, you still get the experience at 10 minutes, which is a big boost to the whole team, and combining that with the cheap tome makes hard lanes much less of a problem overall than before, as long as the tier 2s are protected. And once again, we can see a lot of free farm top, but Medusa standing with her allies to defend the advances in the mid tier 2 tower. In terms of build, the one Medusa picks this game is great for farming. The damage talent, combined with the knuckles, increases her damage incredibly well. It's just a crazy power spike in this early stage. Even though Medusa try her best to defend the tier 2 tower, eventually they get dove in the tier 3, they lose that. This is how rough the game looks, and it gets worse than that. And that's why I stand by the item suggestion. It really is crazy good. Medusa gets MKB at 19 minutes, and I will try to explain why the item is so good in some heroes. Not only the components are much better at farming than before, and so the Medusa gets a fast MKB, a greedy item in general, without slowing down her farm in the first place, but the fact that it gives more attack speed than before makes the DPS of the item much bigger than before, since you're proccing the 100 bonus damage more often. Seconds after completing the item, Radiant is able to force Stone Gaze, and they take that as enough for a high ground siege, and maybe they were right, since the gold advantage is almost 1k a minute at this stage, but as you can see, this hero holds high ground really well. One thing that Medusa did great in this game, in my opinion, is holding her ult for the right fights. Even though she's really strong, Radiant has a ton more gold than she does, and so Stone Gaze was only used when her life was under threat or when a tower was being forced. In this case, not only Rubik is already dead, but Medusa pushed the lane top. Ulting here doesn't immediately defend the tower, so he chills, he holds position, but gets really unlucky. SF with ult, mana drain, and thus no mana for ult, followed by a dive from Radiant, and only then he actually buys back. He plays really smart, nice TP location, ults, deals with the tombstone, avoids the carapace multiple times, and he just kites Radiant really well. At the end of the day, this game is unfortunately a BKB game for Medusa. The SF use combo is super annoying to deal with, and Linken's doesn't really do much in this game, since they have Undying and Furion with huge caster and spells to break it before the SF goes in. On top of that, the mana drain is really annoying, making BKB a necessity. With BKB ready, Medusa is ready to fight, and I just want to again remind you of the net worth difference here. This is a game where Medusa has less farm than literally every hero in Radiant, and on top of that, she went BKB, which is not an item known for doing damage. And even still, look at the end result. He starts with the slow from Snek to get the first kill, he pops ult plus BKB. The Quelling Blade in the inventory saves her, the fight keeps going back and forth, but she ultimately chills since her cooldowns were spent. At the end of the day, we already talked about how this hero holds high ground exceptionally well, and her only problem in the past was not getting fat enough fast enough, but as we just saw, even behind all cores in terms of net worth and having a BKB instead of damage item, her damage is crazy high. Finally, we have the fight that starts changing the tides for Radiant. 17k gold deficit, but watch what happens when SF commits for a kill on the Shadow Demon. Pew pew pew, BKB usage, and boom, tier 1 tower down. Seconds after that, Nyx plus NP think they can solo kill the Medusa, but yeah, that's not gonna happen, and the game very quickly goes sideways. The MKB allowed for the fast farming and high ground defense that bought time for a BKB that allow him to fight, and the fighting allowed Roshan paired with a Rapier. That's a pretty common power move in high MMR games.
I'm so... Oh my god, I'm so fucking unlucky.
Do you feel like this playing Dota sometimes? Losing can be really frustrating, especially when you are to blame. What if there was a way to pick heroes and playstyles so good and so fresh in the meta that no one can counter you? Follow my weekly easy MMR meta guide on Patreon to start abusing strategies I'm yet to make a guide of. By selecting this Patreon tier, you will have access to the freshest ideas I'm yet to make a video of, or ideas that are really good but I don't think make a good video but are still important. This will give you an edge versus any player in your brackets. The meta guide is available every Thursday, and if you join before this Thursday, you will get the chance to vote on a hero you want a guide on. And the game just ends really fast. Guys, thank you a lot for watching, commenting, and subscribing. If you want me to talk about a specific change in the patch, make sure to write in the comments below. And if there's anything you didn't understand or disagree about this video, do the same thing. If you want a more premium experience than my Patreon meta videos, DM me on Twitter to get all of the information about my coaching rates. By the way, if you got back to Dota because of the Compendium or COVID-19, check our Discord server. That server is full of people from all around the world. I'm sure you can find a game partner to make solo queue less anxiety-inducing. And if you want the channel to grow bigger, check my other Patreon tiers and see if any of them interest you. Finally, if you want to see me play or if you want to see me cast, check my Twitch. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you a lot. Have a good one, and I hope you farm a lot of them more in this new patch.